Hey guys, when I go into other podcasts, I get asked questions like, what would you go back and tell your 25-year-old self, your 18-year-old self? And I've given a lot of answers for that, but I think I finally know the right answer for that. And that is diversification is bad for most times. We're going to talk about that right now here on the Fearless Investor Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome into the Fearless Investor Podcast. You're listening to me, Kyle Stanley, and I am very excited about today's episode. I'm going to kind of take you through all the mistakes I made leading into my real estate career, and what I would do differently in those careers, those businesses that I owned before. But before I do, you don't just have to wait to have an episode like this come out to ask me these questions. You can actually book a call with me at fearlesskyle.com/consultation. You want to talk Airbnb, you want to talk real estate, you want to just pick my brain, which I hate using that term, but if you want to pick my brain about anything in regards to any sort of investing that I have been a part of here, I would love to be able to share my knowledge and to answering your questions. Again, all you got to do is go to fearlesskyle.com/consultation. So let's jump into today, though. I wanted to get your attention by saying diversification is bad because I think that for 90% of the time that you're in investing, yeah, it is bad, but it's not bad overall. And just as a reminder, like all this advice that I give you is in regards to, it's not supposed to be given for everyone. Like you need to evaluate your situation. You need to understand that maybe you're in a different financial situation than most people I'm talking to on this podcast. Most people that are listening to this podcast are like me, probably, mid 20s all the way to mid 40s, and they're fed up with their job and they're looking for a new income that can help give them more freedom. So if you're the person that, has a ton of money or doesn't have any money at all, it might not be completely applicable to you. So just keep in mind that while I'm going to give you some great advice here, you need to look at your own situation. So diversification is bad. Let me get into this just for a second, because I look back and, the reason I thought about this is I posted this on our Facebook group and Airbnb Masterminds, which if you're not in that, you need to go and look it up on Facebook. That's growing by like 10 people a day. It's starting to blow up. A lot of great stuff in there, a lot of great topics about Airbnb, and it's all free. But I posted, hey, would you rather have one market that you're doing Airbnb in and have 20 Airbnbs in that one market, or would you rather have 20 markets and have one Airbnb in each? Now, the majority said one market, and then there was a few that said, I want multiple markets for diversification. And I don't think that's wrong. However, I think that it has to be broken down in a way that we're looking at, well, what is a sustainable business? And so what I shared with everyone there is that when you have 20 different markets, you basically have 20 different businesses, and your time is spread thin, and none of those can flourish. You're never having one consistent flourishing business. You have all these different points of contact, all these different businesses. They're just doing average. And then I was like, oh my gosh, that was me. Like that was absolutely me the first, call it, 9-10 years of my career out of college. I'm 33 today, going to be 34 this year. And I would say that, like, looking back on it, I always had these like side hustles. And one thing that I promote right now is, if you've heard my podcast and you listen to me, I talk about our acronym MAS, or MOS, if you like Spanish, which is Master, Automate, and Scale. And that was not what I was doing. I was moving on to the next thing before I even mastered that one, or a couple of them I got like close to, but just I look back on it. And so, for example, when I got out of college, I was a sports anchor, and for like 6 months I was doing that. And then I got bored and I was like, I want to make more money. And I started making videos for high school athletes on the side. And then as I started making those videos, then I got out of sports broadcasting and I went in full with that. And that was my chance to go and master that. But then instead, instead of doing just the sports videography, I tried to be everything for everyone. I tried to be the recruiter. I tried to be the marketer. I tried to be the guy that would actually do the work for you. And before I knew it, it was like I was spreading myself so thin on the business that I was going all in on, that I felt like I felt like I was a slave to all of my roles. And so I think when you spread yourself thin, a number of things happen. You become a jack of all trades, which is not a good thing. People say jack of all trades, and it sounds like, oh, great, you're good at a lot of things. Well, would you rather be good at a lot of things or great at one or two things? The people who are great at one or two things are the ones that get known, the ones whose names spread around. It's not, oh yeah, go talk to this guy, he's average at a lot of stuff. No one wants to go to a doctor who's average a lot of stuff. They want to go to the specialist that's really good at cardiology because I've got heart issues. I don't want to go to a doctor who's okay at heart issues. I want to go to the best. And so for that reason, you're going to just have an average reputation if you're building a business as a jack of all trades. And then you try to be everything for everyone. Like I mentioned, you become this slave to the promises that you make and the clients that you sign up, because you've told them I'll be everything for you. But at the end of the day, you don't really know the answers to those things. And so I look back at this recruiting business and I'm like, man, I should have laser focused on just videography. I should have just made tons and tons of videos for these high school athletes and built, I would have just focused on that, but I would have definitely like created partnerships with people where I felt like I was lacking. So for example, instead of, and I'm going to relate this to you guys here in a second, and I'm going to give you some concrete advice of where I would think you want to go with this, but I'm just kind of giving you some like background of what happened with me is instead of being an all-in sports videographer and making videos for high school athletes to help them get to college, what I did is I got a few parents that were like, oh, can you help us promote these kids, our kids, to the college coaches too? And I was like, yeah, sure. Well, I was no good at that. What I should have said is, no, I won't, but I know a really great person who will, and I'll refer you to them. And through that, either abundance mindset, everything will come back around, or B, we create like a business partnership where I were to refer them business and they pay me a referral fee. That's where I would have been able to really explode the business, is focusing on what I was really good at, letting that reputation grow, and not just trying to be decent and all this other stuff. And the other thing I would have done is I would have found a mentor. So looking back on all this, you heard all the things that I did wrong. Looking back, what I would have done, all these things to focus in and niche down. But the number one thing I would have done is I would have found a mentor. And if I would have found a mentor, they would have told me all these things anyway. So you are, to me, like, if I could go back and I could tell 25-year-old Kyle, hey, don't diversify, don't try to do all these things, just focus in on one. That's where you're at right now. If you're looking to get into real estate, if you're looking to get into investing and you're hearing about all these different things, you need to focus down and laser focus into one and find a mentor that will take you there. It's a no-brainer. We go through school for 18, or for, let's see, from the time you're 5 to the time you're 18, you go to school for 13 years, and then you get scammed for most of college going into, I say that because most people who go to college don't need college. I didn't need college. A lawyer needed college. A nurse needed college. A doctor needed college. But you put all this time and debt into education. But then when someone says, hey, by the way, I run a 6-figure business, very similar to what you're doing, and I'll go ahead and teach you how to do that. And by the way, it'll only cost you $5,000. We're like, ooh, $5,000 is a lot of money. No, it's not. You literally just went into $200,000 of debt to take Spanish 2 4 times, to take art history, which you'll never use, to take calculus, which you'll never use. And you want to become a business admin or a business owner. And it's like, why you don't need that stuff, but you're paying someone ridiculous amounts of money because the bank is giving it to you at a loan. Do you see how backwards that is? Anyway, what I'm saying is, if you have someone who can be that mentor for you, they're going to cut time, not just in half, they'll 10x the time that you'll be able to get to your goals. They'll help you make all the mistakes that they made. They'll help you not make all the mistakes that they made, and they'll help you to get to where you want to go. So that's what I would have done. Now, let me just tell you this, when I became laser focused, when I actually said, okay, let's do this real estate thing. So between the recruiting thing, I said yes to a couple other things, couple other side hustles. And it was, again, just even spreading myself more and more thin. And guys, the best year I had in all this, when I was doing this plus all these side hustles and I was working 60 hours a week at the minimum, is the best I ever did was made $75,000. Year one in real estate, I made $140,000, and I only flipped only flipped 3 houses, did 1 burr and 1 wholesale, and then started building my Airbnb business. Like, in 1 year, laser focused, one thing on my plate, real estate. And so I stayed in that lane. And even more so, I got more niche down. I said, I'm going to start with flipping. And I was constantly looking for deals, and I was evaluating deals, and I was listening to Bigger Pockets. I was listening to podcasts, and I was like, oh, this sounds like a rental. Oh, this sounds like a burr. Oh, this sounds like a flip. This sounds like a wholesale. But I was looking for flips. I was really niching down and looking for flips. And then I found this one that I now call the burr B&B, which was basically I burred it into an Airbnb. And as soon as I did that, and I also learned about rental arbitrage, I was like, oh my gosh, I can scale this thing way more. So blinders were on for flipping, but I was looking and educating myself on other things without just changing lanes. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. But then when I saw, okay, I've got this flipping thing down. I know that I can go into a house, evaluate it, get my team on it, and I don't have to put a whole lot of work into it. Plus, I can automate it by going to wholesalers and realtors, and they can bring me the deals rather than me going out and knocking on doors or doing the marketing. I kind of can automate that, and now I can focus on this Airbnb thing, and I can scale it a lot faster from what I saw based on my skills. So I mastered flipping, I automated it, and I got to that point where I said, do I want to scale this? No, I don't necessarily want to scale this, but I do want to scale Airbnb. So now it's time to go and master, automate, and scale Airbnb. And so from there, now, like, as you've all heard my story, started in Airbnb May 2019, and now it's January 2021. We're about to get our 28th, 29th, and 30th properties under management or ownership by the end of February. And that's over $22,000 net profit per month of income with properties, the majority of properties we don't even own. And that's powerful. Okay. So now, because this thing grows, I went to Austin, Texas this last weekend with my girlfriend, and, I'm getting texts from people saying, hey, we want you to manage for us. This thing's growing without me having to be there. And so it's running on its own without me having to be there. My manager and all my automations allow me to be able to go anywhere I want, whenever I want, because it's all on an automated system. And so now I get to say, well, what else do I want to do? And so since then, since it's gotten to this, completed mass where I've mastered it, automated, and scaled it, now I can say, okay, well, how about I go and start a property management company for Airbnb? Boom, did that. How about I expand this with one of my best friends to Arizona? Boom, we're doing that. My other really good friend here in California wants to start a sub-2 business and start to build that here. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Sounds great. Sounds like a great plan B for me to be able to, really solidify my portfolio. And then there's been other opportunities where I'm like, I can be a passive partner in this stuff. And all these opportunities now are here where I'm like, I can try to now go master, automate, and scale this too, or I can just be a passive partner in it because I know that I've got this business that is flowing and scaling and automated on its own. So how does this all apply to you before I get too deep into this? Number one, what you heard from this, basically, I hope you're picking up, find that one lane. But here's how you find that one lane. You got to answer, to me, 4 things. Number one, will you enjoy it? Number 2, will you want to scale it? Okay. That's the big thing. If you notice when I said flipping, it was like, I like this as like a side business, but I don't necessarily want to like blow this flipping thing up to like 10 properties at a time. That sounds like a lot of work. I'd rather have like 1 or 2 going on at a time and feel good about it. So do you want to scale it? That's another thing. Do you have the opportunity to automate it? Okay. Is there technology? Is there people you can bring on? Is there strategies that other people have used that you can learn from? And Number four, can you exit or sell this strategy or this one lane that you're going to be in fairly easily? And I would even add on to that, just going back to the mentor thing as a fifth thing, is there someone that can show you how to do that and how to get there? Um, so what are some options there? Just in regards to real estate, there's wholesaling, there's flipping, there's subject to, there's BRRRR, there's Airbnb, there's single family rentals, new construction, land wholesaling, private lending. That's another big one. So do any of those sound like something that you would want to master and then automate and then scale? Um, and if it is, so let's just take, for example, hey, a real hot topic right now. There's two that I hear a lot of: wholesaling and subject to. Um, do the research, okay, but don't get analysis paralysis. Just get started, get into making mistakes, um, knock on doors, talk to people, and you're going to learn and learn and learn. And then you're going to realize, like, hey, um, do I really like this? Can I see myself automating the things I don't like? And if I can't, then will I want to scale it? Are these things that I would like to do, and know that it's going to be my responsibility to do it? I think anything can be outsourced, but if you're that kind of person that feels like I'm going to want to have my hands on this, are you going to really enjoy it? So, to me, keeping your blinders on is going to be the number one thing. Once you figure out that one thing, keeping your blinders on, but keep on learning. Just like I talked about, okay, I got into flipping, and then I'm like, well, let's see if I can make this a BRRRR. Let's see if I can make this a wholesale. Let's see if I can make this an Airbnb. I keep the blinders on, but I'm not changing lanes. I'm just, all right, I just went ahead and wholesaled that, but I'm not becoming a wholesaler. I just know that that was the type of deal I was doing, so I'm going to stay within flipping. But then when I got to Airbnb, I'm like, okay, this would be really fun to scale. Flipping's cool, but Airbnb is really cool. And so that's when I'm like, all right, automate this process, and then let's switch lanes and find out how we can scale something that I would really enjoy scaling. So keep your blinders on, but educate yourself all the time. Realize the first thing you pick might not be the final thing that you go with. Then, of course, like I said, you master, you automate and scale, and then finally you move on to the next. You find opportunities that are going to help you advance to your goals. Especially if you see that, like, holy cow, I literally, guys, when I started out in Airbnb, I was like, when I get to $10,000 or $15,000 a month, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be set. And I still am happy. I still technically am set. But because I have this business mastered and then automated and then scaled, and to where it scales were without me even being there per se, it's like, well, okay, what else can I do? Maybe I can bring more value to you. Maybe I can do more podcasts and create more content. Maybe I can build more partnerships in subject to and other Airbnb markets. Maybe I can try out these Amazon stores I keep hearing so much about. And so I now have this like flexibility and these heightened goals and this bigger vision of what else I could do, where now it's like, holy cow, $20,000 a month. I never thought I'd be there that quickly, but is that where I want to end? Is that really the end goal? Is money the end goal? And you get to like start asking yourself all these questions of like, think about that for a second. If you had the choice to really sit down and say, what do I want to do next? And money isn't an issue. How cool is that? And I pinch myself every day being able to say, like, I get to ask myself that question a lot, and it didn't take that long to get there. So I know I just went off on a little bit of a tangent there, but you know me, I like to, I get off on these tangents. So long story short, what is that thing for you? I'm going to go back to what I said in the beginning of the show. Are you needing a little bit of a push? Are you needing a little bit of like some answers to questions that you don't quite have yet? Let's set up a call. fearlesskyle.com/consultation. If you are not wanting to do a call and you're like, dude, I have been ready to do Airbnb and this was the one thing I needed to hear today. I just need to focus in on it. I need to stop listening to all the stuff about stocks and Bitcoin, and maybe I need to go get a 9-to-5 job, or even if it's just like wholesaling or flipping or anything like that, what if it's just Airbnb? If you're like ready to go into that, hopefully by now I have a course, fearlesskyle.com. Right there on the homepage, you'll see the Airbnb tab. You can click on the Airbnb Kickstart course under the Airbnb tab. It's at a 20% discount right now. Don't know how long that'll go for, so make sure you go jump on that. Would love to be able to be a part of your journey. Guys, going from basically zero to $20,000 a month in under 18 months. Like if I can do it, someone who struggled for 10 years in the entrepreneur quote unquote world, if I can do it, then I just truly believe anyone else can. I'm not that special. I made a ton of mistakes. I had a ton of ego. And as you can see, I tried to diversify way too early. I tried to just remove the blinders and be open to all opportunities when I should have just focused in on one. So if you're ready to focus in on that, again, fearlesskyle.com under the Airbnb tab, the Airbnb Kickstart Mastermind. But if you're not and you got questions, fearlesskyle.com/consultation. Let's set up a 15-minute call. I'm excited that you listen to this whole thing. Thank you. I hope it brought you a lot of value. And I hope that this will be something that continues to help you to conquer the world of investing. We're going to see you next time on the Fearless Investor Podcast.